All right, we got a lot to talk about, and of course, let's start with the NFL and the 49ers. And Rob G, we want to bring you in. The 49ers, they got issues because they don't want to pay certain players. Ayuk wants a new deal, wants to be traded because he's not going to be paid. They have other people they need to pay. But, of course, it all centers around the quarterback. Brock Purdy, who needs to get paid, I believe, Rob G, after next year, correct? After this
That is correct. Brock Purdy, because of his draft slot, is not eligible for an extension until after this upcoming season. However, there has been scuttlebutt, both on the national and local media, that because of their current situation and because of the way the quarterback market is shaping up, that Brock Purdy could be in line for a $55 to $60 million a year contract. And as a result, that looming extension, again, not until after this upcoming season, is playing a big role in these current negotiations with Brandon Ayuk, who is holding in, whatever that means, and all-pro left tackle Trent Williams, who is holding out because he wants a new deal.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Andy. I mean, and then I guess I'm going to start with you.
With me?
Yes, with you.
Okay, fine. Let's do it.
And here we go. Here's a question to you.
Yeah.
Do you pay the pieces before you pay Purdy? The pieces, which are these other players who have made up the 49ers, who were, Andy, good before Brock Purdy got there. I just want to remind people that they did go to the Super Bowl before Brock Purdy got there. Or do you pay Brock Purdy because in the NFL, it's all about the quarterback? Where are you on if you're the 49ers, you're making other guys unhappy in order to make sure that you can sign your quarterback?
This is specifically for the San Francisco 49ers, and you touched on it for just a second. Okay. They are in a win-now mode. Must win this year because they were in a 7-year plan. And last year, the last 5 years, they were in the NFC Championship game. They lost twice in the Super Bowl to Kansas City. They don't have pieces. They got thoroughbreds. And this is a tremendous question, and I'm glad I don't have to be the guy that makes the decision because it's going to be the GM, John Lynch, is going to make that decision. I look at Brock Purdy. This guy had 31 touchdowns, 11 INTs, and passed for over 4,200 yards. Tremendous numbers, but were the numbers there because of guys in front of him, guys like Deebo Samuel, guys like Ayuk, guys like George Kittle, the tight end? Are those the guys that did it? I mean, right now, yes, he is due to make something like $985,000 this year because of the system. Will you pay him now? I don't know. I mean, here's the deal. I mean, there's no leverage. I mean, can they win without Brock Purdy? Has Brock Purdy made those guys, or have those guys, those thoroughbreds, made Brock Purdy? That's the question I have. And I tell you right now, I pay the pieces before I pay Brock Purdy.
You know what, Andy? I don't think you're that far off because they've been good already. They were good with Jimmy Garoppolo, remember?
Right?
They've been good with other quarterbacks in that system. And it doesn't mean that Jimmy Garoppolo still doesn't have to perform or brings value or talent to the table. But you got to start to really look at that team and wonder how much of it is really Brock Purdy. And do you remember when they struggled, Rob G, I can't remember, a couple of their offensive weapons were out. And that's when they went into that funk. Because before that, I don't think he had lost a game. You remember he was off to like 11 or 12-0 start. And then Brock Purdy played 3 games, Andy. I'm going to give it to you, okay? He played 3 games last season without Deebo, without Trent Williams. He went 0-3, 3 touchdowns, and 5 picks. There's your number. Those are the pieces parts. Is it about the pieces or is it about the quarterback? And I think it's a tough call because, Andy, where are we? The NFL today is a quarterback league, correct?
It's a quarterback league because of twofold. Number one, because you don't win. If you look at the teams that not made the playoffs last year, they didn't have a first-string quarterback. Right. So it's quarterback league because you got to pay him and you don't win without him. But if I'm the 49ers, and you were to ask me point blank right now, the MVP in that team is Christian McCaffrey. He's their MVP in both the run and the pass game. He unlocks everything on the offense for them. Christian McCaffrey is the guy on the 49ers. Brock Purdy, yeah, he as long as he doesn't turn the ball over and does what he has to do in that system, they will win. You were right, Garoppolo, they won with him, and they'll win with anybody else. You win with a guy who's the last guy picked in the NFL draft?
Right.
What does that
Mr.
tell
Irrelevant.
you?
Mr.
Right.
Irrelevant. And I think that's why for despite his numbers, despite what he's been able to accomplish, there were a lot of people still wasn't buying into Brock Purdy. He wasn't in that conversation. You remember the Christmas night game when Baltimore came to town and undressed him. And Brock Purdy, what do you have, 3 or 4? Should have had 4 picks. I think one was dropped.
3, I think, yeah.
Right? One
was
dropped. And he looked like Mr. Irrelevant that night against that Ravens defense. And he did engineer the comeback against the Lions, although Dan Campbell helped him along, and helped the 49ers in that. That was an impressive comeback, down big at home in the NFC Championship game, and they wind up, getting there and going to the Super Bowl. But I'm with you. I think the pieces in this case are bigger and are better, and it doesn't mean that Brock Purdy can't be paid, but I'm with you. Win now. Next year, you worried about paying somebody next year? If they win the Super Bowl this year by taking care of the guys who have been good to them, Andy, I don't care who the quarterback is next year.
With you.
Do you?
No, I'll go one step further. These pieces are so good. These thoroughbreds are so good. I will tell you right now, they can win without Brandon Ayuk. That's how good. I mean, Brandon Ayuk, to me, has no leverage because if they should let him go, if they do trade him, which I don't think they will, and he's holding out, right. They won't. I get that. But the point is, if he would to go, if they did trade him, I still believe there's enough talent there with George Kittle and McCaffrey and Ricky Pearsall and these guys, Jennings. I think they could still win without Ayuk.
Yeah, I mean, they have something going. They haven't been able to win the big game, and they've struggled when it comes down to it because they could have easily won 2 Super Bowls. I mean, they melted down twice, right, in 2 Super Bowls in the fourth quarter.
They sure did.
Where they had leads. Right. And so, Kyle Shanahan, for as much as people say he's a genius, is a terrible closer as a coach.
Gambles
Go
too
look
much.
At the numbers. Yeah, gambles too much. Gets away.
No, I don't
from
mean Pete Rose gambling. I mean gambling with decisions in the game.
But also goes away from and I know he wasn't the head coach, but he cost the Falcons that Super Bowl. If you remember that,
right,
he was the offensive coordinator. Julio Jones made a great catch on 3rd down, Andy, to set up 1st and 10 at the 22. They were up by 8. You're at the 22, Andy. What do you need? A field goal, right?
Right.
Field goal gives you an 11-point lead. Tom Brady can't beat you. Go back and rewatch that game. Kyle Shanahan has passing plays. There's a holding, 10 yards. There's a sack for another 17 yards. All of a sudden, you're out of field goal range. All they had to do was run the ball straight ahead 3 times, eat up as much of the play clock, right? Let it run down to 1 or 2 seconds. And you kick the field goal, you're up by 11, they win the Super Bowl.
Right. Are you talking about the pieces right now? Let's talk about some of these pieces. They got the all-pro left tackle, Trent Williams. He's holding out. Get something like $31 million he's getting, right? The wide receiver, Deebo Samuel, like $28 million, all right? They got 6 guys out there that have contracts this year that average at least $19 to $20 million a year. It's amazing. It really is.
They're good, and those guys should be paid. I'm
no
sure
doubt.
that they're saying, my God, if you can't pay us now, we'll never get paid. And we used to see that with the Patriots, where they wouldn't pay guys. Use them up, Andy, and then never pay them.
And I'll tell you something else. I think there's something that we don't talk about, and maybe our guest at the bottom of the hour can help us out here. Money's great, and you talk about money, but I think that you're going to create a divide in that locker room if you don't pay these guys, and that creates major problems on the field. That's the problem.
And we're talking about the 49ers, and they're trying to pay which players. Do you pay Purdy or do you pay the pieces like Williams and Ayuk and guys like that? What would you do? And, Andy, I know people want to jump in right now.
All right, here we go. Randy in New Orleans, you're on the Odd Couple. What do you got, Randy?
How y'all doing this evening, gentlemen?
Doing great. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. It's good to hear from you, gentlemen.
You too.
On this TV theme song Thursday, Cheers has a great theme song, by the way. I just wanted to throw that out there.
No doubt.
But to answer your question, the 49ers, to me, have all the pieces, so you got to continue to pay the pieces. They have all the pieces that you need to make a quarterback look great, but that doesn't mean he's great, right? Brock Purdy had walked into a situation where he was all set up for success. He had a great left tackle, really good weapons on the outside. They added a great running back, and they have a great tight end. All Brock Purdy has to do is make reads and not turn the ball over. And that's what he's done for the most part so far, right?
But exactly right.
In my opinion, gentlemen, I'll say this and I'll close. He's not worth no $60 million. He's not. I think that you continue to pay the players and you continue to just build off of what they've already been doing, even before Brock got there. I appreciate you, gentlemen.
Yep. Thanks so much for the call.
He may not be worth $60 million, but that's the going rate of the quarterback situation. So that's the problem we get into. May not be worth it, but he's probably going to get it eventually.
Yep.
We'll see.
No, I mean, it's just when you pay Daniel Jones what the Giants paid him. I don't know how you could. What leg do you have to stand on, Andy?
But
you know
Daniel
what I mean?
Jones could have been a star with the 49ers. He could have done what Brock Purdy's doing.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Wow.
We'll see. Andre in Massachusetts. You're on the Odd Couple. What do you got, Andre?
How you doing? Thanks for taking the call. It's no question in my mind 49ers need to give some attention to paying these pieces, particularly Brandon Ayuk, who, by the way, leads this team in receiving yards and is central to their offense and everything they do. Listen, this is a classic case of Belichick-ism, whereas 49ers, don't get ahead of yourself thinking that Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, is some top 10 talent, this guy with freakish ability who we need to prioritize him over the system. He is a system quarterback, by every single definition. So I'm a little bit surprised if this situation with Ayuk has reached kind of DEFCON 5 levels. He's the one that needs to be brought into the fold and just kind of respected and feeling like he belongs and all the rest of that stuff. Whereas Brock Purdy, okay, you're a worker, you're a grinder. Honestly, you're a rich man's Rudy Rudiger. How is we going to put all sorts of resources into this person and not prioritize you can't, my point is, you cannot just replace an Ayuk. You cannot just replace the Kittles. Obviously, they needed Christian McCaffrey to get to this point. So it's the pieces much more than Purdy. And the 49ers need to get off their hard line and start doing some customer service, and not customer service. You need to start bringing their guys in and helping them feel respected and appreciated before this thing falls apart. Thanks for taking the call.
Robbie makes a great point, and I've seen some lists of top 10 quarterbacks, and I don't look at these lists, I rip them up, and I don't pay any attention to them, but I've seen Brock Purdy on these lists in top 10 quarterbacks of the NFL ahead of a Dak Prescott, which blows me away. It blows me. I mean, I don't think they're in the same breath, they're not in the same league, but Dak Prescott gets no respect, and Brock Purdy has been ranked ahead of him in several lists that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's hard it's like a combination, Andy. You see a team winning, and Brock Purdy, his numbers were good. It's hard to argue. Right. But I think the issue that most people have is it seems like whoever you prop or plop into this system has success, right? So
because of the pieces.
Right. That's why you go, well, if I had all these pieces, I would be good too. Or like you said, Daniel Jones might be a 10-time better quarterback with all of these pieces if he didn't have to, do as much as he can, Now let's welcome in to the program Joel Corey, the former NFL agent and now CBS Sports NFL analyst. Joel, how are you? Say hi to Andy Furman.
I'm doing well. How you doing, Andy?
Hi, Joel.
Doing great. Let's go to the Bay and the 49ers and talk about the situation that they're in. Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams looking for new contracts. Maybe the 49ers are taking their time. They need to pay Brock Purdy after this season next year. What do you do? We just pose the question, do you pay the pieces or do you pay Purdy?
Well, Ayuk is his favorite target. He led the team in targets past 2 years, so he is their de facto number one receiver, even though they have a ton of weapons. The wide receiver market is well defined, so this shouldn't be a hard deal to do if you want him around. I've always thought this was an either-or proposition, that either Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel will be there on a long-term basis, and particularly after they drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round. Now getting to Trent Williams, the problem with his deal is he's older, but he isn't slowing down. And the way it's structured, he's got this huge balloon payment in 2026 of slightly over $33 million. There are no guarantees left, so maybe you shift some money upwards from 26 to 25, guaranteed 2025, since he isn't slowing down and is still arguably the best left tackle in football, and go from there with him.
Joe, let me ask you this. Brandon Ayuk, okay, he had a career high over 1,300 receiving yards last year. And I got to ask you, who has the leverage, the 49ers or Ayuk? Because I believe that the 49ers could win even without Brandon Ayuk.
49ers have leverage in this case. But I wouldn't discount his importance to that team, because he's really the vertical threat, and also he is really the guy that Purdy looks to. So if you want to maximize your quarterback, you may want to have Ayuk there. You're not going to put up the type of stats you would someplace else on that team with all the weapons. George Kittle used to hold the record for the most receiving yards as a tight end. He hasn't sniffed coming close to that record ever since they've improved all the offensive skill position talent on that team. So you have to take that in consideration of Ayuk.
Let's go here. Roger Goodell has anybody who would listen. He's told we want 18 regular season games. We'll lose another exhibition game. We understand why. The real games make the league money. The exhibition games do nothing. Those are local TV. They don't make any money. They can't sell those anywhere. But if you're the players, and I think the Players Union is by far the worst union in the history of the United States, the NFL Players Association, with the deals that they've done, would they be smart to say, sure, we'll do an 18th game, but we need lifetime health care and a better pension plan from the NFL to get this done? Like the NFL wants it. Are the players willing to stand up to them to be able to get something out of it other than less practices and the right to smoke weed, which doesn't cost the NFL any money?
I don't have a high degree of confidence that the NFLPA is going to get serious or substantial concessions for the 18th game. One thing the former executive director, DeMaurice Smith, did was, in terms of an 18th game, or at least posturing for a 17th game, it was like, this is not going to happen. My constituency does not want it. That's not the case for the 18th game. You've got guys like Joe Burrow who are coming out saying, 18th game is cool, just give me another bye week. That's not helpful. You have to take a hardline stance initially, and they're not presenting that. Even the executive director, Lloyd Howell, has been like, we'll look at the 18th game. So, I agree with you. It should be an improved revenue split, lifetime health care, because the NFL gives lip service to player safety, particularly when they're talking about adding more games, and they don't have grass surfaces everywhere. So those would be two things I would want. I don't want to eliminate the funding rule in the CBA where you have to put future guarantees in escrow, because that's an impediment to fully guaranteed contracts. There are other things which I don't think you really have a prayer in getting any type of making headway on, like the franchise tag, eliminating that.
They could, but Joel, I'll push back on this. I think the players have tremendous. They have poor leadership, but they have tremendous power. And until you're willing to stop the game, okay, and let the owners know, we'll stop the cash cow and we'll stop it until you guys come to the table and give us some things. There's no reason that Shohei Ohtani can sign a $700 million contract where all the money's guaranteed and he has lifetime. All you need to play is one day in the major league to have health care, one day in the big leagues. Like, there's just no reason. But if you're not willing to stop the games, then you're not going to get anything. But the players have the leverage. They're the sport.
They don't have the leverage because they're not willing to do that. We saw in 2011, they wouldn't miss one preseason game. At least the NBA players, when there had been work stoppages, even if you go back to 1999, although the owners got what they wanted in salary maximums, it was a shortened season. And then I think 2012 maybe or 11, I forget which year, it was a shortened season. NFL players aren't willing to do that. Owners know that until players decide or owners take that seriously, that threat of a substantial work stoppage, then they're only going to get so much.
All right, let's talk, Joel. Let's talk on the field with the Dallas Cowboys. They got some problems here with money. They got C.D. Lamb's wanting money. Micah Parsons wants some money. But let's talk about that quarterback, Dak Prescott, who's 30 years of age. He's entering his final year of his contract. He's going to play for under $55 million in that salary cap figure. I don't understand in this league that you can't win without a quarterback, and Dak Prescott is a proven quarterback. So what are the options the Cowboys have if they don't sign the guy?
Hit the reset button. Now, what I really want to see is Dak Prescott not get a contract this year, have a really good year this year, and then hit the open market, because I'd love to see a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback in his prime hit the open market, because I think we would be shocked at the type of deal he could get, because that never happens. A healthy Pro Bowl quarterback in his prime hitting the open market never happens. But Dallas has a unique approach to contracts. Most teams, if they know their guys that they want to keep, they try to lock them up as soon as reasonably practical. This team does not do that. They drag their feet and procrastinate. That's why they're in the position they're in. C.D. Lamb is holding out. Dak Prescott could become an unrestricted free agent after the year, and then Micah Parsons, they do have a little more time on that one, because he's going into the fourth year of his contract, and he has a fifth-year option next year. But still, the longer you wait to sign good to great players, the more it's going to cost you.
No doubt. Our guest is Joel Corey, former NFL agent, and, of course, with CBS Sports as an NFL analyst. Joel, let me ask you about Jordan Love. Excuse me, Jordan Love. He's doing a soft holdout again. He's going to the meetings. He's at camp. He's just not going to hit the field. He wants a new contract. Jordan Love, they've had him for 4 years. They know his work ethic. They know what he's done. They've watched his every practice. What's the holdup here? If he's the guy who they believe in, why are they – the sooner you sign the guy, they probably could have got him, Joel, cheaper had they signed him before the season started last year, right? And just took a flyer. It would have been a lot cheaper than waiting to see the guy have a great second half and win a playoff game, and then, boom, you have to pay more.
No, there's no way you're doing a deal last year with him, because there was no guarantee they would have picked up the fifth-year option, because he never really played. Now, that being said, he had a phenomenal second half of the year, was arguably the best quarterback in the last part of the regular season, and then knocked off the Cowboys in the playoffs, outplayed Dak Prescott that game. This deal's going to get done. It's just a question of whether he's the highest-paid quarterback in the league or comes in below that. One thing Green Bay has only done for Aaron Rodgers, which I assume they're going to do for him, is give traditional salary guarantees. If they are pushing back on guarantees, and that's like every other Green Bay Packer besides Aaron Rodgers, and I understand why this isn't getting done. But I expect this to be done in the next week to 10 days. This will be just a blip on the radar screen.
Let me run this by, because you used the term holdout. It's making me crazy, because the last 2 days at Cincinnati Bengals practice, Jamar Chase came there, but he didn't practice. He was at practice, but he didn't practice. He's holding out. T. Higgins was smart enough to say, look, it ain't going to work. I'm going to go out there and practice and see what I could get this year and go out in the market next year. Why do these players continue to hold out when it doesn't make any sense? Explain that to me. You were an agent.
Well, there's the hold in, which is what Love is doing, what Ayuk is doing, and what Chase seems to be doing. You're trying to avoid a fine. And for guys who are playing on the rookie contract, that's $40,000 per day for each day of training camp missed. And it's forgivable for those guys. For Trent Williams, it's $50,000 per day, which is not forgivable. Sometimes that's the only pressure you have to put on a team to get something done. When I was an agent, I did have a couple of guys who went through lengthy holdouts, and Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell, one more successful than the other one. But you see guys come into camp nowadays to avoid the fine, and then they'll do the hold-in. The holdout, as you saw with Nick Bosa last year, very effective. Became the highest-paid non-quarterback, although it was right before the regular season started. Zach Martin last year, held out, got his contract readjusted. Chris Jones, very expensive, hold out, cost him over $2 million in a game check. So, look at the team who you're dealing with and make that as a part of your equation if you're going to hold out.
Yep, it is crazy, but a lot of that is the way that the Players Association has handcuffed the players with some of these terrible deals, franchise tags and whatnot. I hate it all. I really do. But thanks for the insight, Joel. Joel Corey, that's right. Check him out, CBS Sports NFL analyst and the former NFL agent. We appreciate you. Thank you, Joel.
See you, Joel.
Thanks for having me, guys.